we're representing FSIC, the Flying Saucer Investigating Committee of Akron. This is Chuck Mackison, and I'm Larry Moyers, and would you give me your name?
Gary Yost.
Your age?
32.
32. Your place of employment, where do you work?
Akron Police Department.
You work with the police department. Just in order that we don't add to or subtract from your account of what you saw at 1:30 this morning, would you start in pretty much as you were going up the boulevard there and give me a full detailed account of everything you saw and as much detail as you can bring into it?
Well, it was approximately 1:30 a.m. in the morning, and we just cleared a call at Triplet Auto Wrecking, and we were heading east on Triplet. And approximately Triplet and Woodstock, I made the comment to my partner. I'd seen this object a ways back, and I didn't say anything or even think of it. It appeared to be a harvest moon that I thought. And I made the statement to my partner that look at the large harvest moon ahead. And he said, that's no moon. He said, the moon's to the rear of us. I said, well, it's got to be the moon. I said, what else could it be? And we were continuing on, and by that time we had gotten rather close. I estimate maybe 200 yards. And the object was hanging down in a little valley-like behind some trees in the church. And the object appeared to be as big or bigger than the church itself. And at about that time, the object just seemed to diminish in size. I mean, staying parallel with the ground, and just started getting smaller. And all of a sudden, it just was southeast of us at the time we first sighted it, and it just veered off in a northeast direction, and it was rising rapidly. I mean, very fast, you know.
Now, did you feel that it diminished in size before it started rising?
It diminished in size. Like I say, it was huge when we first saw it, and then it seemed like it was just on ground. It was just going away from us.
Even before it gained altitude?
Yeah. And all of a sudden, it just veered off. It was going more, it was just going straight east when it was starting to get smaller. Then it veered northeast, and that's when it started making its rise into the sky. Then we estimate around Canton and Triplet or Canton Albrecht there, it just took a due east course. And we followed it out Canton and to Albrecht and down Albrecht, and we got down there around High Grove Boulevard and Albrecht, and it vanished, just disappeared into the sky for about 5 seconds. Then it appeared way out beyond Mogador, Suffield, out in that area. For a matter of 2-3 seconds. I mean, it didn't come down close to Earth. It was still way up, and then it just disappeared again. And that's the last we saw it.
Now, you say we. Who was the other person with you?
Officer Bickett, John Bickett.
John Bickett.
Partner, yeah. He was driving the car.
And to the best of your knowledge, were there any other possible observers to the...
Well, there was a fellow, like I say, we were just going up to the Sahia station, Canton and Triplet, to get our heater fixed. And when we saw it, we were going to go up there and get him, to see it too, but if it was going to hold still, like it was, but it didn't remain in one place. It just took off. But when we first come upon it, it was stationary.
I believe there was some mention on the radio this morning of the State Highway Patrol having seen something also.
Yes, State Highway Patrolman stated he observed the same type of an object in Sawyerwood, which is only 3 miles from the scene where we first, sighted it.
Did he pinpoint the time as about the same?
Yeah, it happened approximately 5 or 10 minutes before we,
Oh, before you saw it?
Before we saw it, yeah. He saw it first.
Yes.
And he observed for about 5 minutes out there, and then he lost it. Then we saw it over here on Triplet, and we called in to our radio dispatcher and asked them to check this airport, see if they have had any sightings. And our dispatcher called back and said that the airports hadn't received any, but the State Highway Patrolman had spotted something, he said, at 8 and 224, which was right in that area, because the patrolman said that he had seen it in Sawyerwood, and he pulled off 224 there and observed it for 5 minutes. And he said it was moving, because he fixed the position of it with a light, telephone pole or something out there.
Now, I think we have missed some of the detail of the shape of the object when you first saw it, and the coloration, and then the changing of the shape and its color.
No, when we first saw it, it just looked like the bottom half of a huge harvest moon. The top half was covered by cloud layer, and it was very brilliant, an orangish gold color, and sort of as it was fading away, it appeared to have sort of a waffle-like design on it. And as it was disappearing, though, into the sky, it just had the appearance of two saucers put together.
Hey, you're speaking of this waffle-like design. Was that a grid-type thing?
Yeah.
And this was demarked by dark lines? Or?
Yeah, like I say, the color of the object itself was an orangish gold or yellowish gold, brilliant color. Mm-hmm. And the lines on there seemed to be sort of a orangish brown color. I mean, not very vivid. I mean, but you could see them sort of set off.
But there was this crisscrossing effect.
To me, it appeared like, yeah.
Yes.
Could you tell me approximately how many vertical lines and horizontal lines were in this grid?
No.
Was it 3 or was it 10? Or 100?
No, it wouldn't have been 100. I'd say maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 in that area.
Matter 5 to 10.
I mean, they were spaced.
Going both horizontal,
but they weren't real distinct. I mean,
Well, you got this impression.
We saw it an instant there, and it was, going away from us. And like I say, when we first saw it, we didn't think even think of anything of the sort of, what it could be. Like I say, we was thinking it was a moon or a blimp or something, coming across there all lit up. And if you see something, you could observe it, know what you're looking at the first time. You kind of look for detail. Well, this thing here, it just was moving away, and like I say, it was covered by trees and that. Fortunately, there's no leaves on the trees. You could see, through the trees.
Now, as it gained altitude, now how about the coloration?
Well, as it gained altitude, and before it disappeared, it was just a brilliant white.
Brilliant white.
Yeah.
And how long do you estimate it took you to drive from your original point of observation? Now, you suggested this morning that it did get larger to you for a little period as you approached it.
Yeah.
And then from that point that you first saw until you hit Canton Road, where it hit the clouds,
it was about a minute probably. From the time I first saw it until the last sighting of it. I mean, the whole episode probably took no more than a minute.
I can see where you wouldn't get too much time for detailed observation. But a minute's a long time when you're looking at something.
I mean, if it had just disappeared straight out and that was it, we could see it. But the thing went out and then it started veering off. And you could just see it going across, right out across the sky there in the northeast direction. And like I say, out around Canton and Triplet in that area, general vicinity, it just took a easterly direction, and that's...
What were the weather conditions at the time?
No, it was clear. It wasn't raining. It rained about anywhere from half hour to an hour after the sighting, but at the time it was clear. There was heavy, cloud coverage.
Broken clouds?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the moon, you could see the moon, it would, be visible, and the clouds would drift by.
Now, you did see both the object and the moon separately.
Yeah, I didn't see the moon at the time. I was watching the object, but I told my buddy that, the moon ahead, and he said that's not the moon, because he said that the moon is to the rear of us, and he looked back and he saw the moon behind us in a northwesterly direction.
He did see it.
Yeah. And we did, after the sighting and everything, we did see the moon. And the moon was, at the time, would have been, like I say, to our northwest. And the moon was a sort of a whitish color. It was nowhere even close to the color of the object that we saw. Mm-hmm. It was, like I told this gentleman here, about a third of the size of this object.
It did appear to stand still at one time.
Well, it actually, to me, it appeared like it was taken off from us. Mm-hmm. There was no other traffic on the road at all. And when we came up there, it appeared to be just in a motionless position until we started getting close, and then it started going away from us. And the faster we got, then it just shot up into the sky then.
And it did suddenly speed up.
Yeah.
Or give us a turn.
Oh, it had tremendous acceleration.
It didn't break up into any parts or explode or this type of thing. Give off any smoke?
No. It just,
did it leave any visible trail?
Well, you mean like a tail or
meteor?
something?
Yes.
No.
Did it drop anything?
No.
Change
Nothing
brightness?
we could see. Well, no, it just went from that orangish gold color from close to the Earth there until it got up into the...
And it did change shape from the half-moon scallop top to the double disc shape.
Yeah.
Do you remember if there was any wind at the time? Strong wind?
No, I don't think it was windy out there.
You observed the object at all times through the windshield?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't stop the car?
No, we stopped at Canton, or when we got out of Albrecht and got out of the car after we'd lost it, the last time, but it never came back.
But at no time did you observe it outside of the car?
No.
I see. You used no binoculars?
No.
Was the object fuzzy or blurred or sharply outlined?
No, I'd say it was quite clear, sharp.
Sharp
The
lines of shape?
Like I say, it didn't just a big ball there, like the sun or something, and have a lot of fuzziness around the edges. It was distinct. The outer edges was quite distinct.
Seemed to be self-luminous?
Yeah.
Yes.
But see, there's nothing around there to cause any reflection. Of that great magnitude, because it's a residential area, and they just got, back in that area.
A coin will cover the moon. If you hold a nickel up like this at arm's length, you can't see the moon beyond it. Actually, if you were to hold your hands out like this at the closest point, just visualize this. How wide a spread would you have to make to cover the object at your closest point?
At our closest point?
Yeah. If you're looking through your hands like this.
I'd say about like that.
It would take that much area.
It was huge.
You see, at 200 yards, if you were to expand this...
it was huge. I'm not kidding you. It was.
And how much of the church would you say that it would take up in its bottom swing?
Well, it was above the church.
Yes. But
and it was as big or bigger than the church at the time we saw it. And the church...
this is amazing.
Yeah, because it was huge. It wasn't just a little spot. It was huge. This church, I don't know if you're familiar with the church, it's a good-sized church.
Yes,
it's not a great big church, but it's a good-sized church. And this object was beyond the trees of this little wooded area. And it was, like you say now, if the object was in front of it, you could see, you getting that, but it's behind it, and it is still as big or bigger than the church.
Were there any conventional aircraft in the area at the time? You didn't see any?
There was nothing, no. No, it was no air. If it was some type of an aircraft, it was none that I have ever seen.
Now, if you were to compare the speed of the object with a piston, a prop job, a light plane, a jet, or faster, how would you compare it as it took off?
Well, I've never seen anything accelerate like that. Like I say, we were coming into the bend when it started moving away from us, and my buddy started going faster around the bend there. By the time we got down the vial tire, it was just about completely out of sight. And it just stayed at that level. It seemed like it just got up to a certain level and it stayed there. Then out in Albrecht, it disappeared. Then it came back out. Whether it just went through a cloud layer or something, I don't know. Or whether it went higher and came back down again, I don't know either. But it disappeared there for 5 seconds. Then it came back into view again, and it disappeared entirely.
Well, let's see. Nearby, we have the Muni Airport, the Aerospace Goodyear aircraft, and, of course, the Zeppelin dock. Have you ever seen any other objects of an unidentified nature?
Well, no, just these Sputniks, things that they put up on certain nights. The wife and I, we've sighted things. You see in the paper
they
about
were
the timetable,
yes.
Yeah. But I've never seen anything that I've ever. Well, shooting stars.
Have you been called today by the Air Force or federal, state, county?
No. Newspapers are the only ones that's called.
Beacon Journal did call you.
Well, Beacon Journal was at the station when we came in this morning.
Oh,
was waiting there
they were there to meet you.
And tonight, some woman from the plane dealer called and talked to me. Then this morning, before I, talk to you this morning than talk to WAKR and WHLO. There's only 2 radio stations.
It's a lot of interest. It's amazing the amount of interest. Did you hear the Dorothy Fulltime program the other night?
No, our television set blew up on us there about a week ago, and we haven't had a TV set.
As I talked with the captain at the station this morning, he told me that they weren't logging UFO reports now. They were holding them on individual cards. Mm-hmm. What did he mean by this?
Well, see, since we got over to the new station, now they've got a new radio system and they've got a new setup. Now, I don't know, I haven't been in there to see it, but they used to have just a big sheet and had lines on it, like a ledger sheet or something, and they put the car, the time out, the reason for the call, what type of a call. Then when you call back, they put the disposition, and that was on a big sheet.
How long?
Yeah. Now I understand they've got cards with all that on there, and each time a car gets a call, they take that card and they put the time they get the call, the date, the reason for it, the car number, who called, the party calling, for what reason, where they're calling from, and all that on one card. And I guess that some way is going to be filed according to cars or districts. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't seen their setup.
They're in a revolutionary change.
They have changed. Yeah, they have changed the setup down there. But as far as logging, I don't know, or putting on cards, I don't know.
Some time ago, I understood that they had assigned a man to handle UFO calls. Do you know about this?
No, I don't. No, this woman called from Plain Dealer today. She said Kent State couple. Did you talk to them?
No.
She was saying that she said, "Are you familiar with the Kent State couple that sighted this object Friday night in North Hill?"
Oh, yes. We have about 8 or 10 calls on this. I was thinking you were talking about last night.
No, this was Friday night.
Yes, Friday night we have a great many reports. And in fact, we've called practically every airport within 100 miles to see if there were any advertising planes in the area. And to the best of our knowledge, there were not. But it seemed to be a disc-shaped object with a fast-rotating rim of lights around the perimeter. One man said he was very close to it, and he has been a pilot and could identify almost anything. And he said it was nothing that he could identify.
That's the way with me. That's nothing I've ever seen before.
Well, one more question. I suppose since the information here is pretty much general knowledge, you probably have no objection to our using it also. The ways in which we use it is, for instance, we have a monthly meeting, and quite often people who have seen them come down and share what they've seen with us, as Del Spar did. He came down and shared. And then we have a little monthly bulletin that we put out. Has a circulation of around 200 now, around 600 on the mailing list, but we don't very often cover the whole mailing list. And occasionally we have other public education means in which we use it. Do you have any objection to this?
No.
Very fine. Do you have any questions, Chuck, that we've missed?
Well, I'll just let you go into a little bit more detail on several of these. The weather. Now, you mentioned clouds. Are you familiar with the classifications of clouds at all?
Well,
were they large, fluffy type, or
they were
high,
they were dark
type?
Like I say, it was dark out, and all I know is there was a low ceiling, and at night, I mean, with no illumination, it's pretty hard to distinguish the clouds, and the moon was in and out, during the night, and before this, until it rained, and after that, the cloud coverage had it, completely covered up. But they were dark, very dark clouds, and they were rather low. Like I said, when the moon would come out in the clear spot, you could see the clouds, and they were rather low.
Could you give me a rough estimate on the percentage of the sky that was covered by clouds? 5/10 or 2/10? No idea.
Well, we can get this information from the Weather Bureau.
I wouldn't.
I'd like a map from you, giving your locations and the angles from or the direction you observe these from, and if you changed position at all. Did you change position
Well,
But,
most of the time we were heading east because Triple Boulevard runs east. And till you come to Canton Road, then we had to make a left, which would have been north. And we went 1 block. And we made a right, which is east again, and headed directly east on Albrecht.
There at the church, you have almost a 30-degree angle turn, a curve there.
Yeah, but it's when it straightens out, you're still heading east. I mean, you're
Yes.
like this part of Triple Boulevard is heading straight east, and you make a sort of an S turn like this and
Yes.
go straight on east. So actually, you're continuing on, in an easterly direction,
It is
except
an
for
S
that
curve, yes.
little S curve there, where you head north and come back east again. But it's only just a small turn there,
did you have to lean forward in the car at any time to look out the window? Was it real low?
Well, even when it was going, because it was going out away from us like that, so we could. My partner was driving, and he could see it all the time that I saw it, and he, without leaning out, looking up, or anything like that.
What you just showed me there with your arm, was that about the approximate angle you were
When it was taken off, yeah. I mean, like when we first saw it, it was to our right or southeast of us. But then when it was going off into the sky, it was approximately that angle like that.
Well, I think that's about all I have, Larry. Now I'd like to get some angles, if at all possible, and bearings.
No, you feel you'd have to be out there on the spot
Yes.
to get these. I was wondering, you go to work at 11, don't you?
Yeah. Well, we start. By the time actually we were supposed to be on duty 11:30. By the time we get out of the station, now it's about 11:45.
Mm-hmm.
And we change downtown now. We used to change out in our districts. Now we change downtown, which holds you up sometimes from 11:45 to 12 o'clock, depending on the roll call, and information that they're putting out down there. So sometimes it's after 12 before we get out in our respective districts.
Thing he was wondering about was when possibly he could maybe catch you in the area to get the angles. Is that right?
Oh, well, we'll be out there all night from, like I said, midnight to 8 in the morning.
Yes. I've got a schedule myself around 11 o'clock. You're not driving, are you? I mean,
No.
I was wondering.
You could drop me off, I could get my car.
Well, no, I know you're not driving here, but
I mean,
but you do have a car.
Yes.
Do you suppose you could? Do you have a pressing schedule for tomorrow morning?
Well, I have to get up in the morning.
How early?
Now.
I mean, do you feel you want to pick this up tonight or maybe another?
Well, we could do it.
Well, I'll figure it
tomorrow.
tonight,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not a pressing
Well, I'm off
thing.
Wednesday, Tuesday night. I'm off Tuesday night.
Well, it's tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're off tomorrow night.
Oh.
Tuesday night.
Well, maybe you can make arrangements
Yes.
to.
Well, sure, we can. Although I do have the equipment now.
Yeah.
We can do it tonight. You will be in the area, you say.
Well, how long for sightings and that?
Yeah. See, he has some
Well,
equipment that he
all I'd
could.
like to do is just kind of walk through the steps, or go through the motions you actually went through in observing this.
Oh, I see.
And then I have a compass and a device to measure the altitude. And
See, if he could pin exact moments of observation along with about 3 or 4 other people observing it from different directions, he could just about tell you, well, how high it was and what have you.
Well, I see.
Maybe you could go on the cruiser.
Well, yeah, if he wanted to meet us out there.
If you met him out there,
Yeah.
then, in the cruiser and go around.
well, what about manners out there? You ever pull in there?
Well, we do. We're not allowed to stop until after 1 o'clock. New rules.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They give us a list of about 10, 15 things we're not allowed to do now.
Wasn't that
They're starting to get a little chicken down there, but
we can close election time, isn't it?
Well, that and plus there's levy coming up.
Yeah.
Then they get a news station down there, and this comes up every so often.
Oh,
They
yes.
start just like in the service, they got to keep pushing, get a little
Industry the same
education.
way.
Yeah. But we just grin and bear. We know it's only going to last for a while, and then things will slack off. But yeah, we can meet you.
Do you have a regular spot you have to report in or something?
Yeah, we got, like I say, we got to
Definite
be
time.
at the station about 11:30. And at 11:45 to 12, anywhere from then to there, we're relieved, to go out in our district. Then you got to give us time. So actually, I'd say if 12:30 would just, would give us enough time to get out in our district and clear the station and meet, we could meet you out
The
there.
problem that with your office is they would have a call right at that time.
Yeah.
And you might find yourself writing a call.
What they could do about it.
Well, what we could do is we can just call our service and tell them that we're going to be out of service, for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can,
Well, how about if I meet you tonight at 12:30 at the control tower parking lot,
It's okay.
right in front of the control tower
Yeah.
there?
At the airport.
Right.
Right, and then if you're delayed for any reason, I can go in and have coffee
Yeah.
or something.
Okay. It'd be all right. If you get there early, or if we can get there earlier, we'll come by there and
Okay.
maybe make it earlier.
Well, I'll try to be there about 12. So I'll be there plenty of time.
Okay. Well, as soon as we can, we'll come by there, and if you're there at 12 and we're out there at 12, we'll
thing
pick you up.
I'm pressing for is to get a taped interview with this truck driver over the traffic between Parkersburg and Marietta.
Oh, you're on that case?
Yes.
Well, you do this on the side. I mean, it was just
Yeah,
your big job.
this is no.
This is November 8th, isn't it? Yes, November 8th, 1966, and this is Chuck Mackinson, Larry Moyers, and Mark Condusa from the Flying Saucer Investigating Committee interviewing a person about something that happened just the other night. What is your full name, please?
John Bickett,
John Bickett. Your age?
36,
And where do you work?
Akron Police Department.
What's your occupation?
Police.
Mm-hmm. Any special training in the Army? Did you serve in the services?
Yes,
What service was it?
I was in the Army and Marine Corps.
Uh-huh. And did you fly?
I had done some flying, yes, in Marine Corps.
You did. You consider yourself having a pretty good set of eyes even today?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What was the date of observation?
I believe it was the 7th, wasn't it?
6.
6th, was it?
Mm-hmm. What time was it, the approximate time?
Approximately 1:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. That's Eastern Standard Time now.
Yes.
And the place where you saw the object?
Was at Triplet Boulevard in Quail.
In Quail. Were you traveling in what direction?
I was traveling east.
Uh-huh. How long did you view the object? Minutes, seconds?
Well, actually, it's kind of hard to tell. It wasn't very long. I'd say maybe 2 minutes, something like that.
Did you have good, what kind of a sky did you have, and what kind of visibility?
It was clear. We could see it good.
Was there clouds in the sky?
Well, there may have been. I don't know. I didn't notice, actually. But it looked clear.
It didn't rain? It wasn't raining?
No, it wasn't raining.
Were there stars? Was there a moon out?
Yes, there was a moon out.
Which way was it from you?
Well, from us, it would have been, it was behind our cruiser, and we was heading east, so from us, it would have been, west.
Sort of
Or
west.
Straight up, just about from us, yeah.
All right. In what direction did you see the object itself?
East.
Mm-hmm. Did you see more than one object?
No, just one.
All right. Now, what color was it?
Well, when we first seen it, it was yellowish gold or orangish gold color.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see it behind trees, or did it pass in front of trees?
Yes, when we first seen it, you could see it through the trees. The bottom portion of it, you could see through the trees.
I'll give you a chance to tell the whole story, all in one big swing in a minute here. Did you observe it through the windshield, or did you get out of the car to see?
Through the windshield.
You didn't get out to look at all?
Well, we got out of the car, but it was after we had lost it the first time there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear any sound at all?
No sound.
Was it a clearly outlined object, or was it blurred or fuzzy?
No, it was clear. You could see it.
Do you think the light was coming from the object itself, or was it reflecting lights from the city?
No, it was coming from this object.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we'll ask you about, what about size? What did it compare? How did it compare with the moon? Did you try to compare the two?
Well, compared to the moon was small compared to this object we've seen.
Well, could you give me a proportion, 2, 3 times, or what?
Well,
1.5?
No, it was, I'd say twice as big as the part of the moon we could see.
The diameter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, from what we could tell, approximately 70 feet long from where we was at, it looked.
Why did you come to this estimate? How far away were you?
Well, maybe 100 yards, 150 yards, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And how did the object disappear from view?
Well, it was sitting still when we first seen it. And then when we stopped the cruiser, and then we started to go towards...
You go ahead and tell your whole story from now on, right from the very beginning.
We were going east on Triplet Boulevard, and we were at Woodstock and Triplet when we spotted this object at Quail and Triplet, which is about maybe 100 yards away, 150 yards away. This object was sitting right behind the church there at Quail and Triplet. And we stopped the cruiser, because as I come up over there, you know, it kind of shakes you when you see something you've never seen it before. And my buddy told me, well, let's go see what it is. So when we got in the cruiser and started toward this object, it started to leave, traveling east.
Straight away?
Yes. It didn't rise, but it started to go away from us, headed east. It went in that direction, well, I couldn't say how many feet or how many miles, for a ways, and then it kind of veered to the left. Now, it didn't make a sharp left, but it kind of banked like you would see an airplane bank off to the left. And it went in this direction until we got to about...
a curved path, you mean?
Yes, in a curved path.
Did the object change shape as it curved like that?
Yeah, it, I don't know, seemed to kind of flatten out a little as it was going away from, I don't know, I'd say accelerating. It kind of flattened out. Now, it stayed on this bank until we got to approximately Canton Road. Then it seemed to go back in an easterly direction. Now, it stayed in this direction until we got almost to Mogador on Albrecht Avenue, and it went out of sight.
How?
Well, it just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it got out of sight.
Just in distance?
Right.
It didn't get lost in any clouds or anything like that?
No, we could see it until it went out of sight. Then, a few seconds later, it came back into sight, and I told my buddy, I said, it's coming back down.
Did it get larger?
Yes, it got larger, but it didn't come down, you know, as far as it was at first. You know, it just came down for maybe like 3 seconds that we could see it at this time.
It seemed to be returning towards you.
Yes, and then it took off again and disappeared. You know, kept getting smaller and smaller, and it took off again, and then we didn't see it anymore.
Did it appear to you that it was disappearing just like any other object, like an airplane or something like that in the distance?
Say you was watching an airplane go away from you. Kept
with a light in the back or something like that?
And at this time, the color of it was, it wasn't the same color as we seen it at first.
What was the color at first?
Well, I don't know, kind of a silver gray maybe. Oh, at first? No, it was a yellowish orange color. But then as it kept getting, you know, going faster, it seemed like, it changed its color to all kind of a whitish color, silver gray maybe.
What about when it went into this curving turn?
Yeah, that's when it started changing color and shape, like, you know. It kind of flattened out.
Well, maybe it's much like if you look at a quarter head on, and then you make the quarter flatten out a bit. Now, if you took that quarter head on like that, and then immediately you sort of flipped it like that, you couldn't see the whole thing. Now you see it as an oval shape.
Right.
Something of that nature.
Yes.
You didn't hear a sound at all. Do you see any sparks or any smoke or anything like that coming from it?
No sound, didn't see no lights or no body or anything.
It was standing still at one time,
When
though.
we first seen it, yes.
Yes, and what kind of speed was it making when it was moving away? What do you think? Just compared to an airplane, that's the only thing you can compare it with.
Well, when it was going away from us, it was going a lot faster than I believe any airplane could go.
I think it was.
I believe, because considering the length of time that we've seen it, for this object to disappear from the size it was when we first seen it, for it to go clear out of sight and us to be able to watch it go out of sight.
How long did you think it took to go out of sight? Could you just estimate that time?
Maybe a minute and a half. Minute and a half.
What was your altitude estimate?
When we first seen it?
When you first seen it and then when it went out of sight, yes.
Well, when we first seen it, it was awful low. I would say maybe 100, 200 feet off the ground. It looked like when we first seen it, you know, it's hard to tell. And the altitude when we lost it, I have no idea what it was because it just kept going up and going farther and farther away. Now, what the altitude?
It actually raised in its elevation as it went away.
As it's going away, yes, it was going.
Usually, if it's flying a level course, it would drop a little bit at a time as it went toward the horizon. But in this case, you say it was just rising.
It was rising. Yes.
So then it was actually on the rise as it went out.
Yes.
When you first saw this, was there any landmarks or objects to kind of give you a height comparison?
Well, yes, the church there. Now, we could see this object above the church. See, and there's trees there, and you could see it through the trees on the sides of the church. Now, whether it was on the ground or off the ground, we don't know. You know, I couldn't tell.
On the ground, off the ground?
Well, whether it had landed or I don't know, see what I'm talking about. But how close it was down, actually, I don't know, to the ground.
How did it compare in size when you looked at the church and it?
Well, it was as big as the church, or bigger.
And that's quite a harvest moon.
No, this wasn't no moon, because we seen the moon up there. I pointed to the moon.
Was there anything at all that you could see? I mean, was there any detail at all outside of a, what was the shape of the object? I mean, not the general shape was round, you say?
The bottom of it was round, and it was flat on the top, you know.
Is that right?
And
there was nothing to cut it off, no clouds to cut it off like that?
No, there was nothing to cut it off like that. No, it had a form to it. This had a form.
Did it have anything sticking out like antennas?
I didn't see any, no.
What about the surface of this object? Did it have anything that met your eye that was strange?
Well, other than being a strange object, it wasn't a real smooth surface. You know what I mean? It had, I don't know if you'd call it waves or what you would call it, but it wasn't
Were they geometrically placed, though, the waves?
Yes, it looked, like, well, they weren't actually, I don't know if you call them squares or not. It's kind of hard to describe it. But it wasn't a smooth surface.
You know what, when you get some time, sit down with a piece of paper and do the best you can, and you keep drawing until you get what you think is right. We'd like to see what you come up with.
All right.
I don't know whether we should show him what we have or not until we get his drawing.
Yeah.
But we do have something here that might compare with what you saw.
But it wasn't a smooth surface. There was, I don't know if it was a design on this thing or what it was, but it wasn't a smooth surface.
You saw no other lights with it. You know, other lights which are of a different color or even with more brilliance.
No.
Nothing rotating. It didn't seem to be rotating at all.
No.
All right. Now, was it banking this way? Now, let's say, for instance, you got the flat top and then you got the rounded bottom. Was it yawing back and forth?
No, not that I could
It's
tell.
completely level, even in all flight.
Yes, and well, until it started banking off like this here.
Yeah, but it wasn't moving this way.
No, not that we could tell. No.
This is what I call a wobble. You know.
Yeah, no.
Did you see any kind of smoke or any kind of an aura or corona or effect around it? Did you see?
No, I didn't.
The atmosphere around it was just clear cut in the atmosphere.
That's yeah. I mean, it wasn't faded out. You know what I mean? Like, say you would see smoke in the sky at night, how to kind of fade out. Mm-hmm. This was not like this.
It didn't give off any other light, though. Let's say, for instance, you see the clear-cut area. Did it give off any light? Let's say sometimes it gives off a certain amount of light all the way around perfectly.
I know what you mean, like you see around the moon. Like
yeah, sometimes, yes. No change of brightness? Except when it started to move.
That's the only time. When we seen it, when it first started to go away from us, it was the same color, you know.
And it did change shape only because you thought there was a possibility that it was changing its position.
Well,
you don't know for sure.
I don't know why it changed the shape, but it looked like it did as it was leaving.
All right. Now let's see. When you looked through the windshield, what part of the windshield did you look through? I mean, was it the middle of the windshield? The upper part of the windshield?
Yeah, it was through the middle of the windshield. We didn't have to look up.
You didn't?
No, it was right through the middle of the windshield.
Pretty much the middle.
When we first seen it.
That seems to be a pretty low angle.
Right.
Okay, and your comparison, of course, you gave it at about as big as the church, if not larger, that was right next to.
Right.
Well, it's pretty hard to tell unless we know exactly how far away it was. Somebody on that side should have seen it. That's what we need. Somebody east of you and beyond it should have seen it, and then we could get a pretty good idea, you know, where just exactly where it was as far as distance is concerned.
Well, I understand this patrolman did see it. He was on east of us when he seen it.
He was.
He was a little more south of you, wasn't he, on Sawyerwood?
Well, he was in Sawyerwood.
Yeah. South of you.
That still would give us an idea, you see, because we could cross those two lines.
Yeah, he was on Route 224, and we were on Triplet Boulevard, and they run parallel, approximately a mile apart.
Yes.
Let me ask another question here. What about the... it just happened to be there. You just looked and there was, as you were driving down the road.
Yeah. We didn't see it come down or anything. We didn't see nothing until we...
Is there a rise there or something? Is there a little bit of a rise where you come up over and level off? Is that how you saw it?
Boulevard kind of goes up a hill there.
Yeah.
Not a big hill, but it goes up a hill. And it makes a curve and then starts down a hill. When we get on top at the curve there is where we see it.
Right. Okay. Did you see any airplanes around during the time that you were watching this thing, or just before or just after?
No, I didn't.
And what other person was with you?
My partner, Gary Yost.
And do you know the name of the patrolman?
No, I don't. I couldn't tell you that. I don't know.
Did we find out, Chuck?
I'm working on that.
Okay.
Oh, look, I didn't. I don't know his name. No.
Let's see now. Did anybody else talk to you, let's say, for instance, of an official nature, like the military, like the Air Force, like the sheriffs?
No, nobody's talked to me but
just us. That's all. Nobody else, but somebody else has talked to you on the phone.
Oh, yeah. Just about 20 minutes ago.
Mr. Popovich.
Yes.
George Popovich. Okay. The UFORC. And you didn't have a camera with you?
No, we didn't. I wish we would.
Oh, boy. You know, it's amazing to me because almost all police cars are lacking a camera. I think that there should be some kind of a Polaroid or something in there that you guys could take a picture of.
Well, our traffic cars carry our cameras, our cruisers.
Well, they all should have one. Do you people have a log down at your police station on UFOs that come in? Do they put them on the log? We were told they don't.
Whether they do or not, I don't know. Now, we radioed in that we spotted
it. It seems kind of funny to me that they wouldn't put it on the record.
Now, whether they do or not, I couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm. Is there any possibility that you have anything against the use of your name for particular purpose, like mentioning on a radio or in a newspaper or something? I mean, on our little pamphlet that we sent out?
No.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for that. Now, is there any other question, Larry?
And Chuck? Have you seen other objects of an unidentified nature before?
Have you ever seen something like this before?
Well, I don't know if Officer Yost told you or not, but we've seen it going across the sky one night. But what it was, I don't know. It was too far away. We couldn't tell what it was. But we watched it, but it was nothing like this here. It
wasn't April 17th in the morning, was it? When was it?
Geez, I don't know when it was.
You don't?
I couldn't tell you. I know it was in the summertime. I don't know. Did he tell you about it?
No, he didn't.
Let's see. Well, but it was so far away, but we couldn't tell what it was. But it was nothing like this here. It was just a white going across.
Could have been a satellite, too.
Could have been, yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question about this surface, because this is important to us. Was there a scintillation? You know what a scintillation is? You take, for instance, if you look at a diamond or something with many little particles of very shiny material that continually give off little bits of light all the time. Did it look like that at all?
No. No, it looked more like I don't know, the way you described it as a waffle finish on it. You know what I mean?
A waffle finish.
Right. You know how a waffle has little checks in it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it looked like. It wasn't smooth.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't give off this business like different surfaces of light.
No.
Giving off color so that maybe the color at one moment was, let's say, a tiny bit of green, a tiny bit of red, a tiny bit of white, tiny bit of... Nothing like that.
No.
And there was not one time that you saw any light go away from the object into the atmosphere around it, you know.
No, I didn't. No.
What was the brilliance? What would you compare the brilliance to? How brilliant was it compared to the moon, let's say?
Well, it was brighter than the moon.
What about an oncoming auto headlight?
Well, other than being a different color, it was bright.
Bright.
I mean, it was a different color than the auto headlights, you know what I mean? But it was bright. I mean...
Have you seen, let's say, for instance, a landing light in an airplane coming towards you?
Oh, I've seen that, yeah. We see that out there.
Could you look directly at it?
Oh, yes, you could look at it.
In other words, it wasn't as bright as the sun would be. If you
no, I mean, we looked at it. We never took our eyes off of it.
Mm-hmm. It didn't hurt your eyes in any way?
No.
You didn't have any, no watering of the eyes at the moment from strain?
No.
Well, I don't know what else we can ask.
Did you notice any wind?
Was there any wind that night?
No, not to amount to anything.
Was it cold or warm?
It was cold.
Mm-hmm.
It was cold.
See, I did miss some of these things. I didn't follow the thing all the way. We got the elevation, the size. Apparently, we're going to compare it with a church, so it's no use having anything else to compare it with. And he did say that it rose while it was in motion. It never did anything erratic. It never moved along like this, or let's say, for instance, it's sort of like a wild canary or something like that.
It, what you might say, was on a steady course.
Steady course.
It didn't up and down or...
If it rose steadily.
Right.
And if it came towards you, it came towards you steadily.
Right.
It never seemed to have any deviation right or left as it came towards you or went away.
No, it didn't. No.
Okay.
Other than when it banked off, what I would call banked off kind of to the left, you know, or to the north it would have been.
Was it a helicopter?
Was it a helicopter? No.
Was it an airplane?
No, it wasn't no airplane.
Do you think it was a blimp?
No, it wasn't no blimp. No.
Do you think it was any kind of an aircraft you ever saw?
No, I've never seen anything like it.
What do you think you saw?
I don't know what it was.
I think this about concludes our little interview here. I don't think I have anything else to ask. And how do you spell your last name? Your first name?
John.
And your last name, I mean.
Bickett. B-I-C-K-E-T-T.
Well, thanks, Mr. Bickett, for your hospitality and the interview. And this is Mark Conduso, Larry Moyers, and Chuck Mackinson signing off for this evening. Thank you very much.